Just got pointed at. I don't mind speaking in public, but I don't like being pointed at in public. That's a bit weird. Hey, you're here with Ben, and I'm in Munich, back at it again with another Christmas video because I'm not done mining its content. Last week, we showed you the 3 biggest markets in Munich. We had a pretty good time, huh? I mean, you did watch that video, right? If not, you should definitely check it out. The markets were lovely, if not on the obvious side, and let's be honest, a little touristy. Considering I'm a local, and you have hit that like button and subscribed, yeah? I figured I could trust you and show you in on the real deal. Today, we're gonna be going to my 3 favorite locals markets. These are gonna be the markets attended by those who actually live here and aren't on your typical, Christmas market pilgrimage, if you will. I found them by essentially stumbling around after a few glühweins and coming across some gems. Up first, we're heading across the Isar River to the Haidhausen market. Then we're going to be going up north to Münchner Freiheit to see what those guys are up to. Heard it's pretty artsy. And then back down to the residence for arguably my absolute favorite market of all, the medieval market. It's going to be an excellent day, so let's get going. So getting here couldn't have been easier since we only had to take the S-Bahn from Marienplatz over to Rosenheimerplatz. It's about 2 stops and maybe 4 minutes. You could take any train to get here. Now, if you were feeling well insulated, you could totally walk it. It's only about 20 minutes, and that way you'd have been able to see the river. But no matter how you get here, we're finally in the district of Haidhausen. This is a pretty fun neighborhood that's really good for non-tourist locals activities in general, really. Plenty of creative cafes, coffee shops, bars, and families roaming about. It definitely has that lived-in sort of feel. In fact, a fair few of my friends even do. This gives the market a completely different vibe from the ones I've showed in my previous video of the biggest markets, because here it's not uncommon to see your own co-workers and friends just walking about. It also boasts live musical performances at around 6 o'clock, but do be careful, everything closes down at around 9. It also has a really unique layout built on top of the roundabout just behind me, with 2 concentric circles making up the entirety of the market. So it's small and local. Let's go check it out. All right, super easy, yeah? I mean, it's nice and small, it's compact, it's a really great place to maybe nip over after work just to get a drink, get a spot of food, meet up with some friends. Fantastic market and a really emblematic example of a very traditional, locals-focused market. Now, we just need to head back down into the U-Bahn station because we're gonna be heading north over to Münchner Freiheit. We get another locals market, but this time with a more artsy vibe. But I'll tell you more when we get there. We're now at Münchner Freiheit, ready for the Schwabinger Weihnachtsmarkt, which honestly is a market I'm really excited for. You know, as you go to some of the more generic ones that we've covered in other videos, sometimes the products are kind of made in China, whereas this one has a huge focus on local artists and their handmade products. It's fantastic. So once you get off of the U-Bahn station, you're going to be confronted immediately with the entrance to the market, and it will kind of zigzag in a maze-like formation. It's fantastic, it's very intimate and small, while still having plenty of diversity in food and products. Let's go. Now, this market is pretty great. I hope you've saved plenty of room in your itinerary, as it wouldn't be hard to spend a couple of hours here at least. What isn't there to love after all? The cocktail list is extensive, the food is delicious, and most importantly, this market focuses on handmade crafts by local artists. And if I may be so bold, not in a tacky, faux hippie kind of way. The stuff here is pretty cool and diverse, from photography, watercolors, and sculptures, all the way to clothing and household lighting. I finally found a market where I'm actively considering if I should bring something home to decorate. No other market I've been to has been so ardent and focused on local handmade art. Sure, their products aren't as traditional as the other markets, but they're from the community. They represent current Munich, you know? The staff too are incredibly friendly. One man running a stall where he crafts little metal human figures was kind enough to let me into his stall to film his work up close. Then, once your shopping is done, stick around for a live musical performance held in the center of the market and allow yourself to indulge in one of the unique seasonal drinks. My favorite being the coconut white Glühwein. Where else am I supposed to get that? Not in Marienplatz, I'll tell you. All in all, this place is a win, and I hope you add it to your list. Alright everybody, so that pretty much does it for this market. I hope you give it plenty of time in your itinerary because it sure can take as much of it as it can get. It's a wonderful market and I've really had a great time here. Honestly though, I'm starting to feel a bit tuckered out. So I'm going to go home, take a bit of a rest, and I'll meet you tonight over by the medieval market as it really shines under the moonlight. Let's go. Alright, I hope you're all rested and warm, ready for some good food and drink, because here we are at the medieval market. Myself, I actually just walked here from Munich Central Square, Marienplatz. Only took about 10 minutes, super easy. If you don't want to walk, or perhaps you're coming from somewhere else, then make sure to get off at the Odeonsplatz U-Bahn station, as that's only a 2-minute walk. No matter how you got here though, no worries. We're gonna have an amazing time tonight because this is easily my most favorite market. Very literally saving what I think is best for last. The thing I love most about this market is it's about 60% food, but it also offers music, as you might be able to hear behind me, unique crafts, and let's be real, some awesome ambiance. I think they do a great Käsespätzle here, and this is easily the best place to get Feuersangenbowlen. Don't worry about that right now though, it'll all make sense soon. Let's go. Affectionately called the medieval market, its officially sanctioned name is the Munich Advent Spectacle. Can't imagine why that didn't stick. Now, as its colloquial name suggests, this market features awesomely crafted themed stalls, and even the shopkeepers get in on the fun by wearing period costumes. The entertainment here is also top-notch, which is not something many markets can claim, with knights, jugglers, and fire-breathing dragons making routine appearances among the crowds. The stalls, of course, offer theme wares such as swords, shields, bows, cloaks, and ocarinas shaped like whales. Pretty much anything you'll need for the Renaissance Festival fan in your family. The food here is some of my favorite, and the reason why I personally keep coming back. Featuring a full spit roasting pig, some of the best Käsespätzle I've had, and fresh Flammkuchen right from the oven. All that good food wouldn't mean as much though without a good drink to wash it down. And again, the medieval market knows how to deliver. I'd even go so far as to say that this is my favorite market to drink at, with the best Feuersangenbowlen around, which is a decadently strong Glühwein layered with a coat of high-proof rum and topped with a rum-soaked sugar cube, before at last being set on fire to ignite a delicious caramel reaction. And if that isn't enough for you, it's also the only centrally located market I've found offering mead. As the night moves on, the central stage hosts a medieval rock band, serenading the joyful crowd who are well into their feast. Surely you can see why I love this market so much and consider it my top pick. Watch out though, as nothing is perfect, and this market only stays open until 9 o'clock. And the refundable deposit on the raw pottery mugs, man, that gets up to 10 euros. So make sure you give those back, as that's an expensive mistake, and bring plenty of money with you just for the deposits alone. Unless you want to keep them, of course. Now, let's take a look at the rest of the B-roll, and then we'll wrap it all up in the conclusion. See you there. All right, hey everybody. So we're back home after doing another 3 Munich Christmas markets. Obviously this one being locals focused. This will actually be the last video focusing on the markets of this season, so we're not going to do this again until next year. Being that our other video was focused on kind of the big, more touristy markets, I figured this conclusion would be best served talking about what that distinction really means to us and why we divvied them up this way. And no better for you to talk about that.
Yeah, so we like to think about the differences between these types of markets in 2 ways. The first being the types of products that are available, the second being how people act when they go to these markets. So with the products being available, as a lot of you might have noticed, when you go to Marienplatz or any centrally located large cities markets, it's a lot of mass-produced products that are sort of shipped into Germany. And you'll see the same products in Munich as you will in Dusseldorf and Cologne and all the big German cities. You'll even see some of these products repeated in the Marienplatz markets itself. However, when you go to these local Christmas markets, you'll still see some of the same mass-produced objects. But you'll see a lot more diversity. You'll see a lot more creativity because you have a lot of people from the community coming in to sell their crafts and their wares. When we talk about the way people go to the markets, there's also a big difference between the biggest ones and the small locals markets. When you go up to Marienplatz, it's more like going to a mall. I'm stealing an analogy that you said to me like 2 days ago. It's more like rolling up to a mall. You roll up to the mall, you walk around, you window shop, you buy something for yourself, you might buy some presents for some people back home, hit up the food court, get a Glühwein, and leave. With the locals markets, however, it feels a little bit more like a pub. When you go to the local pub, there's a good chance you're going to run into some people you know. You probably know the bartender. You sit back, you have a couple beers, and you hang out, and it's good vibes all around most of the time. And so with that being said, we wanted to talk about a little bit about the medieval Christmas market in terms of locals markets. So Ben, why don't you tell us about that?
Right. If I had a more active and somewhat aggressive comment section, I would be worried about people coming in and trying to flame me, going, the medieval market, that's not a locals market. And they're sort of not wrong. They have a point. You see, if you look at the map, you'll quickly realize that it's in Odeonsplatz, which is just a little bit north of Marienplatz. It's in the city center. It's in kind of like the fancy, ritzy shopping area. People don't really live there, if you know what I mean. So by that metric, it is not. It is actually a tourist market. But the reason why I've included it in this video is I think it has more of that, kind of using that analogy, that more pub local focus. You know, it's not a shopping mall mission like a lot of the others. And so I think thematically, it makes more sense. Because this is also one of the markets that, truth be told, I keep going back to. This is somewhere that I'll say, on a Thursday night, hey, you want to go out? We could go get some mead, we could go see what they're doing, and then come home. Just something nice and short, which is exactly how we treat Haidhausen and Münchner Freiheit. So for that reason, I think it actually makes more sense to go here. You know, just with such an emphasis on food, repeatability, live entertainment, you know, that's something that locals can take advantage of that tourists often can't, only being able to go once or twice. So you can kind of see that they're actually shifting their focus a little bit. And that's why we put it here. Yeah.
So with that being said, we are a small channel, so it helps if you do all the generic YouTube things. Follow us on Instagram, like, subscribe, comment below.
Especially subscribe, and hit me up in the comments for once. Please, talk to me. What do you think? Was there a favorite of these 6? Did you watch the other video? And yeah, please do subscribe. And if not, well, we'll see you anyway in the next video.